Hello and welcome to another The Church at Hiraeth online service. Each week I take a photograph of the sign outside our home. Our bungalow is called Hiraeth, and the snowdrops have been in there for some weeks now, starting off as tiny little shoots coming through the ground. Now they're in full bloom. But I go past them because that's alongside the drive every single day. And when you do that, you don't always notice the difference. It's only if, for example, you visit our online church service once a week and you see the progression of the flowers that you can see that there is big change. But when you're there every day, you don't notice the difference at all. It's like our children, isn't it? We have them, they're with us every day of their lives as they grow up, and we don't notice from one day to the next that they have grown. But if you meet someone who you haven't seen for, say, 3 or 4 years, and they'll look at your child and say, "Who's this?" And you'll tell them the child's name, and they will reply, "I would never have recognized him. He's grown up so much." But because you're there every day, you don't notice the change. But there is change. And that's the encouraging message that I want to bring at the start of this week's online service, that there are times in our lives when we feel that nothing is happening. We feel that we're stagnant, that we're stale, that we've stopped growing, that we've stopped moving on. But I want us to believe and to see, sometimes in hope and faith, but to know that there's always something going on in our lives. Whatever our situation, our circumstance that we find ourselves in, we think that nothing's happening, but all the time stuff is going on in the background. Have faith, believe whatever we're going through, that there is positive change on the way. Enjoy today's service.
The song I picked for today is called Overwhelmed by Love.
That's a great song, isn't it, that Debbie just played and sung to us. Overwhelmed by love. You think of the word overwhelmed, and very often it's in a negative connotation, where people are overwhelmed by something that's going on in their life, and it's always thought of in that sense. However, what a great thing it is to be overwhelmed by love, by God's love. That's the greatest, isn't it? The verse that I want to read today, just one verse, it's from Luke chapter 5 and verse 16. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. I mentioned just now about becoming comfortable, about becoming stale, becoming stagnant even. And I want to share a few thoughts on comfort zones, because that's been something that I've been thinking about in the last few days or so. When you think of a comfort zone, you think of a negative connotation often, don't you? Because we often hear people say, you've got to break out of your comfort zone. And of course, that's 100% true, because you can become very stale and stagnant and too comfortable when you're in a comfort zone. So it's good to do that. It's good to push ourselves. It's good to come to a situation whereby we're challenged afresh and we have to think a little bit more, and we're not quite as comfortable as we were previously when we were in the comfort zone. So of course I get that 100%, and I actually believe all of that, and I preach all of that and apply it into my own life. There's nothing wrong with thinking that way. All I'm saying is there's another side to comfort zones, isn't there? And a comfort zone is where you do feel comfortable and safe. It says there that Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. That was a comfort zone, wasn't it, of sorts, where Jesus developed a habit. Not all habits are bad. Some of them are quite good. You think of starting a new job, and perhaps it's something that you've never done before. You feel that it will be a real challenge. And in those first few hours, days, weeks, maybe even months, you think to yourself, can I really do this job? Am I really up to it? Am I out of my depth? Maybe you're thinking several times, I need to just say to the boss, it's not for me, I can't do it. But you keep going. And then eventually, all the things that you were stressing about and worried about and fretting about, suddenly they're not quite the issue that they were previously. Why? Because you've now developed a comfort zone in a positive way. It's not become a place where you become stagnant or stale, but a place where you do feel comfortable. And I think we have to bear that in mind in our lives, that just because we've been doing something for a long time, it doesn't mean to say that we have to think about doing something fresh, doing something new, moving on again. There are often long seasons in our life, and I've been talking about seasons a lot in the church at Hiraeth since we started, because we've gone through those seasons of moving home, of lots of change and circumstances, etc. Our church closed, job-wise, and so on and so forth, going part-time and then going retired. Lots of seasons in my own life. So I know all about seasons. But prior to that, a lot of those particular seasons that I was in were long-term ones. For example, our previous home, we were there for more than 30 years. Our previous church, we were there for more than 30 years. And certainly as far as the church is concerned, if the building hadn't been sold and we were small and the demographics, etc., had changed, then we would probably have just stayed there for the rest of our lives. That doesn't mean to say that we become stale or stagnant. We were comfortable, of course, but there's nothing wrong with being comfortable. And that's the point that I want to bring to us today in this week's online service. That there is a side of the comfort zone that we do need to break out of, because you can become stale. You can become stagnant. You can become comfortable, but in the negative side of that, the negative connotation of that. But also, you can become comfortable in a comfort zone that's good. You can be comfortable in a relationship. Debbie and I have been married for almost 37 years. I think it's 37 years, Deb. Have I got it right? Or 38? We don't know. See, it's always the man who forgets the wedding anniversary. When's our wedding anniversary, Debbie?
23rd of May.
23rd of May. Well, it is.
87.
How old's Becky, our eldest daughter? 36?
We're married 87.
We were married in 87, so do the math from that one. Well, we've been married almost 40 years. We've been married almost 40 years. And of course you become comfortable, but that's not a bad thing, is it? So comfort zones, yes, they can become things that we need to break out of. But you don't think to yourself, oh, I've been married 40 years, I need to meet someone else and keep it all nice and fresh and keep it all going freshly as it was in the beginning when we first met. Of course you don't. Comfort zones can be good places. Jesus withdrew on a regular basis to a lonely place and prayed. It's just up to us, isn't it, to work out, to realise whether the comfort zone that we're in is something that we need to break out of because it's holding us back and we have become stale and stagnant, or is it actually a nice comfort zone because we're comfortable and there's nothing wrong with that. Amen. Well, we have worked it out. We're coming up to 38 years of marriage. We include all that in our little discussion there. It's all about the human touch, isn't it? And sometimes your mind does go blank. So 38 years of marriage. I thought Debbie would remember every single day. Never mind, she can't even remember the years. Having said that, neither could I. Anyway, we hope you've enjoyed this week's The Church at Hiraeth. Don't forget to check out the website as well, because we do post not only the online service on a Sunday, but also a Wednesday Words of Wisdom on there. And also Debbie does a music blog, a Christian music blog. She likes Christian music very much indeed, and she posted an entry during the week just gone by. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday.